For the Five Corners Chase Lake neighborhood meeting. This is a first of what we hope to have 9 of these. We actually hope that these are actually in person and that I'm not talking to a screen and you're not looking at a screen, because I know we're all doing too much of that, and particularly my youngest boys. But nonetheless, it's so important that we be able to communicate with you and you be able to communicate with us. So just some real quick tips on how to interact right now. We've muted everybody, so but you can communicate with us via chat. And if you use the drop-down menu to contact Patrick Doherty, you can see his picture and name there. And he is sending me your comments and questions on my little tablet right here. So, and then I get real live updates, and then I can answer your questions. So with that, I'd like to just kind of go ahead and show you the agenda. So, all right, while we're waiting for the agenda, I'll just go ahead and tell you the agenda. Basically, we did the welcome part. Next is major issues in Edmonds, and I'm going to chat about 5 of those issues. And as you can see here, we're kind of, normally you do like a presentation and then you have, questions at the end. This time we're kind of breaking it up. So trying to make it a little more interactive. So after I talk for a little bit, we'll open it up for questions and comments. Then we'll drill down to what's happening in your particular neighborhood from the city's perspective. Then that's another opportunity for you to sort of let us know what's happening in your neighborhood or questions you want to share. And then we'll look at pre-submitted questions. So questions from folks who've already submitted something to us in advance. I'll answer those, and then we'll open up to sort of general questions and answers for a little bit more. So that's kind of the agenda, if you will. So next I want to just chat with you about these 5 issues that you see before you: Highway 99, COVID, economic recovery, equity and justice, and the budget. And if I would do this all over again, I'd probably put COVID now on top, because COVID really is the issue that everything is filtering through right now. But let me talk about Highway 99 first. So right now, there are 2 areas on Highway 99 that I am particularly having our city focus on. The first one has to do with our Gateway project. And this was approved very early in the year, actually before COVID arrived. And the city council has fully supported it, and it's funded, and we're in the design phase and hopefully building phase next year. And if you've heard about it, awesome. If not, it's a 2-mile long stretch, raised center median is going to be planted. And it does 2 things. It helps beautify the area to help encourage redevelopment. And it also provides a traffic safety enhancement. So we know just by installing this center median along the entire 2-mile corridor will reduce traffic collisions by 25%. So that's super important. Secondly, we're going to have some gateway signs on either end of that 2-mile stretch. Those are within the city limits to welcome you when you enter our city, right? It's hard to know when you're on that long stretch of Highway 99, if you're one of those 40,000 cars a day that go through Highway 99, that hey, I've entered Edmonds. Oh, I've left Edmonds. I think that's important. I think we want to be able to really show you've entered our community, and it is its own community. And then a third part of this gateway plan is there's about a mile stretch there where there really isn't nowhere a safe place to cross. And so what we're going to be putting in is a pedestrian activated crossing area, very similar to what you see on SR 104. It's called a hawk signal. And essentially what it will do is when it's activated by a pedestrian, it will flash red and then solid red. And so actually stop vehicles so you can safely cross in that area. The second thing, and this is a new thing that's been put in my proposed budget that we've introduced to the city council, which is called a community renewal plan. And this is real important because this really sets the stage for redevelopment, particularly on the southern parts of corridor of Highway 99, where we're seeing a lot of issues with crime, graffiti, nuisances, code violations, and just in general disinvestment. We know we're hearing from people they're not feeling safe, they're not attractive. We hear that, and this is one way that we're going to address that. Now, back in 2017, the city council approved a sub-area plan, and that changed kind of the zoning for it to really encourage that redevelopment. And it, made it sort of what the Highway 99 could look like. I think it, you know, to really revitalize it, it's like $150 million. That's a lot of money, and particularly right now. But the hope was really that we would encourage to see some redevelopment, and we're just not seeing it yet. But we are seeing, obviously, some of these other problems. So we're going to now take it a step further, which is a community renewal plan. And this is based on the Community Renewal Act, which is actually a state law. And this really gives cities, it helps us set priorities and strategies and able to take some action, for example, to partner with private investment, things that you can't normally do. By following these steps and doing a plan, we can actually really double down in our investments and ways to really help that area and really revitalize it. So very excited about that. Hopeful that our city council will fund that and support that. The next thing I want to talk about is COVID. And, you know, I could sit here and tell you, you know, that we're currently at 71.8 cases per 100,000 2-week average, which is what that chart you see here is. But the image, I hope, tells you the bigger problem, which is that the cases are going back up. And they've been going back up for weeks and weeks now. And as you can see from that chart, it looks like a W, and we want it to look like an L. That's not where we want to be. And we're not alone. Unfortunately, right now, we're seeing new cases in 41 states right now. 41 states in the last 2 weeks are all trending upward. 17 of them are trending at a rate that they've never had before. Okay, so this is you know, a real problem, and I understand everybody's experiencing pandemic fatigue. I'm with you there. I'm, you know, it is that fatigue, but we have to know that this is not the time to let our guard down. This is not the time. We have to be vigilant, and particularly now with the flu season coming forward, you know, making sure you're getting your flu shots. Last year, we had 158 people in our county that were hospitalized from the flu. We don't have 158 beds to spare. If this thing keeps going the way it's going, we're going to need our community, and every community is going to need every hospital bed they can have. Please get your flu shots. And without goes without saying, you know, part of the reason we're seeing these numbers, because it's colder, people are spending more time indoors in confined spaces, in close proximity to each other, and not masking up, not social distancing. Those things we still have to keep on doing. We know that when we do those, the numbers drop. When we stop doing them, the numbers go back up. It's real easy. It's a real big cause and effect. So please wear your mask and keep on social distancing. Next item is economic recovery. So we have, as a city, we've taken really aggressive steps to support those in need. And one way we've done that is with the federal CARES funding. And particularly one area that we were able to get city council support and collaboration with was dedicating funds for housing and supplemental relief grants. And that basically is kind of like help with housing, like rent, groceries, utilities. And as of this month, by the end of October, we've helped out 212 households, given out $239,000. We have another 279 people, another households who are applications that are pending. So that's 491 households already that we are looking to support because of this pandemic. We have about 580,000 that dedicated to this fund. Next fund I want to draw your attention to is our small business grant fund, which right now we've already given 90 businesses $8,000. We have about 55 more businesses to give. And with that total, we will be giving $1.1 million to small business grants to help Edmonds businesses specifically. The third thing is equity and justice. It's an issue that we and everywhere are seeing that we need to do more. Our city needs to do more. Our community needs to do more. And in June, I formed an equity and justice task force to help identify and correct issues of systemic and implicit bias within our city operations. And this task force work is to really recommend policies and procedures and other changes that we can make within our city government. Some people have asked, who is this? What do they look, who are these people? And these are community members. These are business owners. These are a very diverse group of people. Most of these people have actually never been on a city board or commission, really trying to get people who, new voices and new ideas in. At the same time, we want to make sure we have everyone represented. We have a representative from the Diversity Commission. We have 2 representatives from the NAACP. We've hired a consultant to help facilitate and help guide in terms of what are best practices when we come forward with these recommendations. And they're going to be, they've already divided up into 2 groups. And those are the community engagement is one section, and then we have organizational transformation. Community engagement, they're looking at mental health, different forms of community policing, and using other professionals to assist the police, and also how can we help vulnerable community members. Organizational transformation is a little bit more internal, looking at how we're doing recruiting, hiring, training, the equity training that we're doing or not doing in our city, how we're funding things, budget allocations, policies, procedures, and other kind of policing practices. And they're going to be submitting a report to me with recommendations in January, and we're happy to share that and hope to implement those recommendations once I get to see them. And then also on equity and justice, and I'll just kind of sneak preview it, but in our city budget, we've requested funding for a couple of areas, including citywide staff training and equity and diversity, our comprehensive plan update, and some equity art grants. But I'll talk about that a little bit when I get to the budget, which is the last item that I'm going to chat about for right now. And it's this. This pandemic has really altered how we do things. In the beginning, we were projecting a $4 million revenue shortfall. And we took steps to actually cut $4.5 million in this year's budget based on those projections. And we did that by, we froze hiring. We kind of stalled any kind of big projects. We kind of tried to put a stop on those. Professional services, travel, all those things came to a grinding stop. And we took, additional steps to help get us through this pandemic. And we've seen that, particularly like an example would be our walkable Main Street, the outdoor dining areas that you're seeing on the city streets now. And it's so important that, acknowledging the great work that you as citizens have done to really keep our community safe, and also to supporting our businesses during this time. I mean, everybody has pitched in, and we're seeing the results of that. We're seeing the results of you doing your part to support those in a safe way. And that's just amazing. And so to give you an example of that, for the first 9 months ending in September, we have already collected $5.92 million in sales tax. Compared to last year, we collected 6.28. So not very small difference. I mean, we're $360,000 difference right there. In fact, this month, the month of September, we actually brought in more sales tax revenue than we did last September, 3.7% more than we did last September. So we actually brought in more this year because of all the work that you are doing as a community to support our small businesses. And in fact, we're now seeing, other areas that folks are helping out. And because of that, and because we're seeing property tax, more construction. So we're seeing revenue for property taxes go up. And because of those help, and because we also know that people are struggling, we, the city, are not going to be asking the city council to increase city property taxes this year. So we are not going to be doing that this year. So I just want to let people know that right away. The real estate excise tax, people are still buying homes. For those first 9 months, we're only down $77,000. And so when you total it all up, at the end of the day, that $4 million revenue shortfall we were predicting is now looking like $1.99 million. So we've literally cut that in half in those projections. And those projections also fall in line with what the State Office of Financial Management budget is projecting there in terms of the state's budget shortfall. So just real quickly, I will just quickly talk about some budget highlights that I just wanted you to be aware of. The Highway 99 projects, which I mentioned, those are a very important priority. The Human Services Program, our city doesn't have one. All the cities around us do. And so this budget is proposing creating a new Human Services Program. It's setting aside $500,000. It's to hire a full-time social worker. And this is going to really help seniors, those who are unable to have stable housing, they're unsheltered, and also really prevent those from becoming homeless. We know that the CARES funding is expiring at the end of the year. The federal government cannot get its act together about additional federal funding. So it's going to be up to us, the city, to close that gap. Those 591 households that I spoke of earlier, they're still going to need help. They're still going to need assistance. And we just can't abandon them. And so hopefully, if this is passed, this will help fund those folks in need. The equity inclusion part that I sort of mentioned earlier, we're requesting to fund. So we have city diversity training for all city staff, boards, commissioners. And then our comprehensive plan, it's a comprehensive plan is our important planning document. It's updated every 7 to 8 years. And, we don't have anything about equity in there. And if we're serious about really looking at meeting the needs of those who are unserved in our community, really reaching out to all populations, we need to put that in our plans, and we don't. So we're gonna open those up and really hopefully change those. And that's one of the areas. And then our arts program. So arts has really suffered right now, and we've seen that across the board, and particularly our nonprofits and our artists. And in the past, the city has supported a variety of arts programs. And this year, we're asking to form a new arts grants fund so that will support those who are, to focus on equity and inclusion. And this will be $10,000 grants. And so really excited about that. Pedestrian safety improvements. That's an important issue to me and to many citizens in our community, including in our city council. And we're recommending $2.2 million in an expansion of our sidewalk programs and other pedestrian safety funding. Our environment. So I have a couple of things there. Our salmon safe certification program is something new we'd like to have funded. Right now, of course, we're seeing a significant decline in resident orcas and salmon, and particularly Chinook salmon. And every coastal city plays a role in that, and we do too. And so it's real important that we have an assessment to look to see what are our policies and procedures, what are they doing to impact water quality and habitat of our watershed. The next item is park land acquisition. Right now in the United States, every 30 seconds, about 100 yards of football field of forest, grasslands, natural spaces is being lost to sprawl, infrastructure, and development every 30 seconds. So this fund would create a permanent fund, and then every year would build on that to really kind of look at our public lands, particularly our open spaces, as a way that we can really give back to our community and have something that's permanent there. So that's something we'll really want to support. We have a couple major capital projects, hopefully, depending on how next year goes with the bidding process. We'd like to still move forward with Civic Field. And then we have our wastewater treatment plant. It's called the Wastewater Carbon Recovery Project. So our current wastewater treatment plant is kind of out of state compliance. It's not really great for the environment anymore. And so this will actually really put us to be one of the greenest and leadingest treatment plants in the state. So very excited to see that move forward. And the bottom line is there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of unknowns about our economic recovery. There's a lot of unknowns about this virus as we head into wintertime and whether or not it's going to resurge, whether or not we're going to have a vaccine anytime soon. I think I can tell you that we have to be prepared to be, in the long haul, because even if there's a vaccine that's ready tomorrow, it's going to take a year just to distribute it. It is going to take a long time to distribute it. And so we really need to be realistic about that. And hopefully our budget reflects that uncertainty, but it should also not shy away from the opportunities that are before us, the real opportunities to make our city resilient, healthier, safe, and welcoming for all. All right, so that was the 5 issues. Now I'd like to, and I'm sure I've gone over time, probably totally gone over the time. Now I'm gonna open it up to some questions and comments. And feel free to chat. So use the chat function and reach out to Patrick there. Okay, here we go. So question is, how can the city take on new projects and keep employees with tighter financial situation? So, it's one of those balancing acts. You have to, plan for and budget for, sort of those unknowns. So like I said, we've made, to give you an idea, the city, I had $3.5 million in projects that the city staff came to me that I decided not to fund. So although you may think like there's a lot of things we're funding, there actually is a lot of things we're not funding. And so, and because we are also have where our revenues and also where our sales tax revenue comes from and how much of it. So our city gets about 19% of our sales tax revenue is from sales tax, right? Compared to other cities like, let's say, Linwood, they have much more of their revenue picture is sales tax. Ours, not so much. So a lot of our revenue comes from property taxes. So that's very stable. So when other cities are kind of going up and down, they'll have extreme highs, they'll get tons of revenue one year, but then they'll have extreme lows. We much more kind of like rolling hills. So we don't feel the impacts as significantly as other communities. So we're able to, like I said, fund these things, prioritize these things, and still keep our cities employed, our cities making sure also that we're still providing you the critical and essential services. And that's one thing I want to emphasize is during this entire pandemic, although we have closed our public buildings, we are still a very accessible place. You can still get a hold of us on the phone. You can still get a hold of us online. We're still providing critical city services, and those have not stopped since this pandemic has hit us. Yes. When will the Highway 99 Center median be built? I am pushing for next year, for 2021. Apparently design's taking a little bit longer, but my hope is that we will start building that next year. That's my hope and wish. And so stay tuned for that. We'll update you as that comes along. Great question. What about block watch program? Can we start that? Can we start again? Yes, great question. We used to have that. As I understand, that's it's a very strong volunteer program, require a lot of coordination and resources. One of the areas that I want to see our police department do is get back into, more of a community services focused area. So, and where we, all are chipping in and helping out, but also different kind of policing. So I think I'm open to any and new ideas. If I recall, there was a particular program and that was done. So I'm happy to look into to see how to potentially bring that back if we can. Can you emphasize the use of masks? Yeah. Although I will say this, look, everybody knows to wear a mask. I don't think that's the issue. I think people are choosing to no longer wear masks. I think everybody knows the benefits of wearing masks. People are choosing not to. And all I can say is that when people wear masks, and we're getting there, I think we're over 70% compliance in the state of Washington. Folks are wearing masks, but when we see places that are at 95% compliance, when 95% of the population is wearing a mask, their COVID numbers are much lower. So it is not the end all be all, but it's what's going to get us through in the long run is wearing those masks. And so it's just sort of everything else. I grab my wallet, I grab my keys when I go to work, and I grab my mask. It's just part of our our life now. It's our accessory. I was in the grocery store and just looking at everybody, wearing masks, and it's just like no big deal. You just get used to it. So it's currently how we have to live right now if we all want to get through this. And the sooner that we do that, the sooner our economy will recover, the sooner we can all, go back out and do a lot of the fun things that we like to do, but can't right now because of COVID. All right, so no more questions I'm seeing here. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the neighborhood issues. So let's see if our turn over to see if our Public Works Director, Phil Williams, is here, can maybe talk about some of these projects. Hi there, Phil.
Hi, good evening. I'm sorry, which projects did people mention some that they wanted to
No. So on our slides, we got here the citywide bicycle lane.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you bet. We've had a lot of conversation with our city council, and quite a few citizens, both in your neighborhood and other neighborhoods, have gotten a lot of comments into us on this particular project. It's the citywide bicycle lane improvement project, which seeks to add bicycle lanes to 3 key sections of City Street. That would be Bedoin from 5 Corners to 9th, 9th from essentially Main to very close to 220th. Excuse me, very close to SR 104, and then south of Westgate on SR 104 all the way to the city limits. And I think people have a lot of very legitimate questions and concerns about how that's going to be done, what the geometry will look like, and so forth. We have on Tuesday night, the council put on the consent agenda for next week a contract to hire the consultant that we selected to begin that process. And as soon as they get on board, they'll start organizing some meetings and outreach efforts to the public to get their thoughts on the geometry of the project. It could have some impacts on the availability of street parking, and those are going to be important issues for people to see the answers to as we move forward. So we're focusing very much on talking with the community that these will affect before we settle on a design and move forward. So that's the bicycle project. I'm not seeing the PowerPoint right now. Is there?
Next one is the Five Corners, kind of update
Okay.
what's happening on Five Corners.
Well, at Five Corners itself, from my perspective, Public Works, not too much. The big project that we did there, of course, has been completed now for several years. I think it was finally closed out in about 2014. That was the construction of the roundabout, which I think has really added a very interesting element to the immediate community there at Five Corners. It's artistic. It's something that people learned how to use very quickly, I think, and got good at it. It improved traffic flow, decreased congestion, saved carbon, reduced our carbon footprint as a result of having fewer idling cars. So that was very successful. Just in the last year and a half, we have added to that an improved improvements made on 84th Street south of Five Corners down to almost to 220th, at least to the just past the school, Chase Lake School, and that was stormwater improvements. There was some additional sidewalk and work on ramps. We put in, I think, 8 new ADA ramps in that alignment and ended up repaving the street and restriping it too. There's still more to do on that. That's a long run. That's over 7/10 of a mile between Five Corners and 220th. So there'll be future projects to come as well that'll improve the rest of the sidewalk on the street on the east side, excuse me.
And as far as pedestrian improvements for 2021?
Well, as I said, we've made some improvements this year that, of course, will be available next year. We do have a fairly new program that the city started 2 years ago now, where we will be building sidewalks with our own city crews. Typically, when we add an element like that to the city's inventory of sidewalks, we do it with a typical design, bid, build approach. And that's not very efficient from a dollar standpoint because you have to prepare a set of plans and specifications, which means you have to design it. That costs money. And then you go out to bid, you accept usually the low bidder, and then you have to administer that contract, make sure you got what you paid for, which requires a project manager and so forth to follow through on that. So that isn't very efficient money-wise. We believe it's more efficient for us to staff up as we did. We hired 2 new people that are expert at concrete finishing, and then supplemented by some of other crew members from our street and stormwater crew, our division. They can go out and put in sidewalks. We've done a couple of them this year, not in the immediate vicinity of Chase Lake, but down on Walnut. We also got a nice chunk of sidewalk put in. This one was done by Grant on Dayton, just west of 8th. And I think the quality of all that work is good. We will look for opportunities on our list of missing sidewalk segments, both short segments and long segments, to try to attack with our city resources in the coming years. Undoubtedly, we will make an effort to spread that out across the city. That's not something that is focused on any one part of the city.
Great, thank you, Phil. All right, next we're going to invite our Parks Director, Angie Fesser, who can chat about a really unique program that we are offering our city in response to COVID in response to the childcare needs of our citizens.
Yes, good evening, Angie Fesser, Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services Director. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. I just wanted to highlight a program that we are providing called LEAP. It stands for Learning, Enrichment, and Activity Program. It is for 2nd through 6th graders. It's basically a day camp that we're providing that also provides the distance learning support from the Edmonds School District. We have a ratio of 1 to 10, so it's 1 staff to 10 kids, and we're basically converting Francis Anderson Center back into the elementary school that it was, right? So we're using the rooms there and creating pods of staff and kids throughout the week. Our safety is our #1 priority for the kids, the staff, and the community overall. And we do have, due to CARES funding, we have the ability to do full scholarships each week for registration for households that qualify for the free and reduced meal program through the school district. And we also have, if that doesn't work for the household, we actually have hardship scholarships as well that we'd be happy to talk to you about. If your household doesn't qualify for that, it's only $150 for the entire week, and we run from 7 in the morning till 6 in the evening. So we have some opportunities there to help your family with the distance learning program the school district has in place at this time. So jump on the city's website. There's a spot to click right on the LEAP program on the front page, upper left-hand corner, and give us a call, and we're happy to talk to you about the program.
Thank you very, very much, Angie. All right, now we'll head over to our developments. Next slide there for development services, which is the Housing Commission. And this Housing Commission was created by our City Council back in 2019 to develop diverse housing policy options to design and expand the range of housing available in our city. They have met 18 times, including online public meetings. And right now they are considering 5 policy topics. And so we're encouraging everybody to participate in this survey. It's a little wordy here. It's ECHC. So ECHC Open House, it's all one word, ECHCopenhouse.com. And if you go to that link, you can go ahead and provide your feedback on those policy options. They're being considered by the commissioners. And then we will, once the survey is completed, we'll then publish the results. So you'll be able to see everybody's feedback on that. And all these recommendations will be sent to, or code changes or any kinds of proposals will be sent, but it'll be up to the city council to make any final actions. So this commission is just charged with sort of considering policy options, getting public feedback, and then making recommendations to the city council. So they hope to get that done by the end of the year. So please go to that survey, that link, and participate in the survey. All right. Next is economic development community services. So you heard me mention earlier about 2 funds that with the CARES money we have funded and are continuing to fund. So we got additional CARES funding, and so because of that, we are opening up again. So we have more funds to give for local small businesses. You can see the web. So all these are from well, this first one is from our city website. So edmonds.gov/COVID business/CARES fund grant application. So you have until the 21st to apply to get additional small business grants up to $8,000. And the second item that we got more funding for and are still needing folks to apply for is these housing and supplemental relief grants I also mentioned. So if you're a 1 to 2 person household, the grants are up to $1,000, and if you're 3 or more, they're $1,500. And you want to go to www.wellspringfs.org/Edmonds, and that deadline is ongoing. So please take advantage of that if you are in need. Next, I want to have our acting police chief, Jim Lawless, here, and we'll touch real briefly about police in what's going on in your community. Right now, if you're interested in looking at crime stats in your area, you can go to Community Crime Map, all one word, communitycrimemap.com. And this includes southern parts of the area. Unfortunately, it doesn't separate Esperance, which is the county. And so it doesn't, you can't, it's harder to be able to tell where, Edmonds is and where the county line is. So, but it does include Esperance. So just know that. So with that, anything that our acting chief, Jim Wallace, would like to share is opportunity to.
Well, thank you. Good evening. On the screen right now, you should be seeing what the mayor was referencing. If you go to our department website and you click through, and on the left-hand side, you'll see some tabs for crime stats that will get you down to the community crime map. And you can basically zoom in and out of your entire neighborhood. So you can zoom in and kind of refine that search if you like. A lot of folks, as the mayor was mentioning, don't realize that the city of Edmonds actually stops at 220th until you get to Edmonds Way there at 84th with the Esperance area. We are available 24/7. Please contact us if you have any questions, either through our website. There are several links where you can put some information in there and remain anonymous, or just give us a heads up or ask us a question, or you can call our non-emergency number as well. Both of those are up on the screen at this time. Generally, the neighborhood is fairly consistent with what takes place. It's not a high crime area, but there are the mail thefts and the vehicle prowls and the burglaries that can be sporadic. Sometimes you may think that there's a huge spike in crime, but it may be just isolated to that area. But as far, I'll assure you that the reported crime that we're getting has not increased in that area. And we have been pretty successful in arresting several prolific mail thieves of late, which is good because that usually ends up resulting in some type of identity theft and fraud as well. But again, any questions and concerns, feel free to reach out to us directly, and we'll get somebody in touch with you and either work to address your concern or answer your question for you just quickly as we can.
Thank you, Chief. With that, we will take another pause and open up to folks to go to the online chat for any questions or comments, suggestions they would like to make at this time. Head to Patrick Doherty. No comments yet. All right. Going once, going twice. We'll have another opportunity. So it's okay if you're still formulating it, send it nonetheless, and we will go ahead and go to the pre-submitted questions. The first one is, has anyone in the city tested positive for COVID? And yes, so I can count, I would say the number of city employees who have tested positive for COVID-19 is less than the fingers in one of my hands. And I can say positively that all those people who have gotten over this time frame have fully recovered and did not get it while they were on duty working for our city. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of the 250 employees who work for the city and how many of those have it and have recovered, and there are none currently. Five Corners revitalization, what is the status? Will you upzone, increase density? The city council several years ago, there was a concept plan and they had indicated no interest in implementing this plan. Right now, my priority is, as I've already mentioned to you, is Highway 99. I'm very excited about the opportunities to revitalize in that area. This is not, Five Corners is not a priority for me. So I don't see anything here moving anytime soon. And in fact, I believe it may be revisited in a couple of years. And of course, at that time, the public will have an opportunity to provide input and involvement, but nothing anytime over the horizon is going to be happening in terms of that component that I'm aware of. What is being done to address crime in our area? I know the chief talked a little bit about that. I don't know if there's anything additional you want to add.
Unmuting here. If something does arise in that area, I mean, obviously we're proactively patrolling. We have multiple officers. That's actually an overlap area between two of our patrol zones. And we'll have multiple officers that are generally assigned to that region. They're responsible for Highway 99 all the way to 84th and the county line. So it's a pretty big region for one officer, but we do have multiple in there. And if something is on our radar, so to speak, if we're seeing a pattern with mail thefts or vehicle prowls or burglaries, then we put some emphasis on that through various means and employ our street crimes unit and our detectives where appropriate. So again, it's about the communication. You would quite frankly be surprised the number of crimes that do not get reported to us. And it's never a bother. There's some hesitancy on the part of some. If they think it's minor and it's not that big of a deal, they don't want to call and bother us, but that's why we're here. And aside from us hopefully being able to get some leads that we can investigate, if nothing else, it allows us to have a better handle on what's actually taking place and to try to establish any patterns that might exist. So I wouldn't want anybody to ever feel that their issue isn't important or they shouldn't be notifying us.
Thank you very much for that, Chief. So back to the remaining pre-submitted questions. Equity and Justice Task Force, what is happening with the task force? Who's in charge? What is the makeup? So I think I've already hit on those issues. And so they're making recommendations to me. Their deadline is January. And then at that point, the public will be shared those recommendations. And they are a very diverse group to make sure that we represent all of Edmonds in that task force. And then we let's see, next pre-submitted question. There we go. What is the racial makeup of city employees? In our city workers self-identify, and based on that, 20% of our city employees identify themselves as a person of color or are biracial. And I would say probably our most diverse department is our police department. So yeah. So with that, those are all the pre-submitted questions we have. So this is another opportunity if you would like to submit any comments or questions, go ahead and use the chat feature, reach out to Patrick there, and we'll get cracking.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question that has come in through Facebook, and it says, how is the city supporting Five Corners businesses?
Yeah, so we're supporting all our businesses. And so, for example, our CARES funding small business grants, all of our city is eligible to apply. It is not related to, it's not just the downtown. So people, businesses on Highway 99 have received small business grants. Businesses in Five Corners can receive, but there's no restrictions on the location. So that's one area. The second area is, we're currently providing on-street dining opportunities. So instead of a parking space now, people are setting up. And so there's a temporary permit we have allowed. We're going to be actually working on code right now to make that a little bit more substantive. And so that provides an opportunity for all businesses and not only on public spaces, but also on their properties, ways that they can provide outdoor dining that is safe in this COVID environment, but safe for the customers and also structurally safe, right? So we're going to have winds and storms coming, and we want to make sure that whatever is being built temporarily can withstand those things. And so we're going to be putting in some code so that everyone can take advantage of that. And I know some already are starting that, but we need to really want to put some things in place to help those. But all those businesses can currently apply for a small business grant, which is open right now. And we have, I just been told, we have actually awarded grants to Five Corner businesses. So we've already actually given to some. I don't have the list in front of me, but I've just been told that, so. What are the names of the equity task force members? So I don't have those at the top of my head, but we have those names. I don't think there's it's not like a secret. So I'm happy to release those. We'll get those out. So yeah. There's like 10 to 12 folks, so I don't have memorized off the top of my head. And just to be clear, it's a task force that's advising me. It's not a public board or commission. So it's a specific task force to give me specific advice. So just folks understand that as well. So this is not like some sort of public commission that's it's a different sort of framework. It's a specific temporary advisory group to advise me, the mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I have another question here on Facebook. It says, is there a mandate to increase city population and or density?
Is there a mandate? So the only thing that is required under the Growth Management Act is that the city provide planning documents with projections on how much we think our city will grow and how we will accommodate that growth. And that gets updated, I don't know how often, I want to say, it's definitely, as often as a comprehensive plan. So at least I want to say every 7 to 8 years, probably maybe even more, a little bit more frequent than that. I think the last time was 2012, I want to say maybe, that is set aside. And so, and generally when we project those numbers, the city has always been able to meet those numbers without really doing anything different, just sort of saying, okay, we project we're going to grow, for example, 5,000 people in the next 20 years. And this is where, potentially, so give you an idea, redevelopment on Highway 99 will automatically address most of the housing needs. If we were to redevelop Highway 99, we could address most of our housing growth needs for the next 20 years. So a lot of that is already in planning documents, documents that are publicly available. We have to submit those to the county, which then submits those to the state. So that's when it comes to doing, that's sort of the requirements when it comes to the Growth Management Act. And if we fail to do those things, then there are certain things that the Department of Commerce can do, such as withhold sales tax revenue and other things. But that I'm not aware of, our cities never had to do that. And I don't know of which cities that have had to go through that. But. All right, so not seeing any more questions. Thank you all very, very, very much for hanging in there on tonight. I know a lot of us were thinking it was going to be a presidential debate, but that didn't happen. So we actually changed the time to accommodate that. So, but we will be back. We'll be in the Highway 99 area virtually, at Lake Ballinger area. So in December, so stay tuned. And then you see on your screen a couple of links of places you can go to get regular communications from our city. So we have put out twice a monthly bulletins, and you can sign up at edmondswa.gov communications. If you go to Edmondswa, you just click on the big link there that says communications. You can also find it that way. We also put out a quarterly newsletter, and then we have our own city blog. And of course, there's our City of Edmonds Facebook page and our new Twitter. We've never been really active in Twitter. We are now at Edmondswa. So with that, thank you very, very, very much from the bottom of my heart for sticking with us, for getting through us this tough times. And you really are making the difference, and I really, really appreciate it. Stay safe, and I will talk to you all very soon. Have a good night. Bye-bye.